Good morning, everybody. Sorry, I forgot to hit the volume or the mic volume. Turned it on before I transitioned. So this is part of the problem of only doing this once a week. You kind of get out of the habit of certain things and remembering how to do stuff. So yeah, it's live. What do you expect? So, good morning, those of you who are watching from the United States, or at least this hemisphere, and good afternoon or good evening for those of you not. We have a lot of people who jump on here, I guess, at the end of your day or evening or late in the night when we're doing this on Saturday mornings for me. So, good morning. Do have a cup of coffee this time. Last week it was all water and it was a little rough. So I actually last night was a late night, so it's a little rough anyway. So I'm gonna stick with a coffee this morning. Ah, that's pretty good. If you are watching live, jump in the chat, say hello. The whole purpose of jumping on here live isn't just for me to sit here and monologue for 2 hours. I love interacting with you guys and getting your questions and answering them to the best of my ability. Of course, always any answer that I give is based off of my opinion and based off of my experience. So it may not be a perfect one-to-one answer for you in your specific situation, but we try to do our best to provide helpful advice. So if you have questions, certainly throw them into the chat. And if you are watching live, please give me something to chat about. So don't just sit there and be a bump on the log. Participate, because really that's the goal, is to have participation between me and you guys. Those are my favorite streams, even if we don't get a whole lot accomplished as far as what I wanted to talk about or coding things, stuff like that. I think those are the best ones when we get to talk some more. So hopefully you guys are doing well. Hopefully you've had a good week. Last couple weeks we've looked at a couple different things. 2 weeks ago we looked at some vibe coding. What does that mean? What does that look like? At least based on the original post by the person who kind of started the vibe coding craze. And then last week we were looking at that project again that we're working on, the mobile app. I'm still working on that on the side some. I actually started using some more AI tools to help out with getting things set up, and we're getting closer and closer on that. But it's to a point where I don't want to do anything live on that. And as we're talking about AI, it's becoming more and more a part of our world, more and more a part of what we do on a daily basis. And in fact, I am pretty much on AI probably half my day, interacting with it, working with it, trying to help me do the things that I want it to do. Um, and so I'm starting to build up a lot more understanding of how to use it and how to use it well. One of the issues that we ran across when we were doing vibe coding was um, it lost a lot of context. It was trying to do too much, and it didn't understand fully, how to do the things that I wanted it to do. I gave it a very limited understanding of what I was trying to accomplish. Although what I was trying to accomplish was a pretty simple task. For most, I think most even junior developers, it was a pretty straightforward task. It's not quite as simple as a to-do list, but it's almost that simple. We were trying to do a chore chart, which is in itself basically a to-do list for kids. So it wasn't a real difficult project, but it just had a lot of issues, especially given some of the context that we wanted to have, such as using the new versions of Laravel 12's starter kits. One of the things you have to remember with AI is it's only as useful as it has been trained, and so the more stuff it's trained on, the more recent stuff it's trained on, the better it's going to be. If you're trying to get it to use some package that just came out this year, probably not going to understand it. Now, one nice thing with like ChatGPT is you can point it towards. Oh, it's interesting. I just noticed something about Claude. Sorry. You can point it towards websites and it can pull in some new data. So it's getting better as far as that's concerned. But but there's still a long way to go in that process of being really up to date and able to use the things that you want to use that are new. So what I'd like to do today, barring any questions or things that might come up from you guys, is I want to go through, I don't know if I'd call them best practices, but just some lessons learned that I've found along the way dealing with AI and dealing with it not just in code, but also in other areas and aspects of using it in life and professionally. But I want to make sure that we do focus more on the code side. So I want to show you some tips and some tricks that I've found that make working with AI a little bit easier. It's not quite as simple as just letting it go, giving it an idea and letting it go, but it can be very, very helpful if you kind of follow some of these tricks or best practice. We'll call them best practices. I think I've seen other people mention these before too, so I think it's becoming more common knowledge as far as how to interact with these LLMs specifically to help you produce code that is good, code that is not hallucinating, code that is helpful within the project that you're working on. So I actually went ahead and pulled up the old Deep Pockets project, and I thought we'd play around with that a little bit using AI and see what we can do to kind of follow some of these keys that I've found along the way in working with AI. And as we go, if you guys have any keys that you think would be helpful as well, that you found to be successful in your process, put those in the chat. Or if you're watching this later, throw them in the comments section. I'd love to get those attached to the video so we can help everybody use AI more effectively. Again, I still firmly believe that if you are wanting to be a developer and you're at a junior level, you still need to learn how to code. You need to learn how to program. That is going to ensure that you know how to use the tool of AI well. There are a lot of people who are building things with AI nowadays, and they don't know what they're doing when it comes to writing good code and clean code and maintainable code. And so they're writing a lot of junk applications. And so I still firmly believe that if you're a junior developer junior developer, basically, if you want to be a developer and you're going to use AI, you still need to have a firm foundation of problem solving and code understanding so that you know whether the code you're getting is good or bad. So you still need to do that, but we are in an age of AI. So I want to help give you guys some keys, some tools, some tips that I've learned along the way to help you make AI more useful to you as you are writing code. So as always, again, jump in the chat, say hello. If you've got questions as we go along the way, whether it has to do with what we're talking about or something else, certainly feel free to leave those in there, and I will try to answer those as quickly as I can. If you're trying to get to me, write at DevMentorDave. That'll just put a little wrapper around it, so that way I can catch it and see out of any other context that you guys might be chatting around with. So, hey, WebWords, good to have you. Excuse me. Gotta get some more coffee in here. Good to see you. Welcome. All right, so let me jump over to our trusty web browser here. I like jumping over to Claude because Claude gives you this nice welcome message. Happy Saturday, Dev Mentor Dave. It just makes me feel a little bit more welcome than ChatGPT's. What can I help you with? This is more like, let's get to it. And this is more like, hey, let's have a nice chat. Let's have a good conversation. I think the first tip that I would give is, and I saw this recently on LinkedIn, I think, you don't have to be polite. I try to be polite when I'm talking to people, and I think that kind of bleeds over sometimes into how I interact with LLMs, like ChatGPT and Claude and things like that. You don't have to be polite. In fact, it wastes it wastes kind of some of the computation power and time of the application when you're just adding in fluffy words and thank yous and things like that. So no need to be polite when you're dealing with AI with these LLMs. Just get to the point. Now, again, we're going to take a look at the Deep Pockets project, and I apologize. I got something stuck in my teeth, I think. Now, I don't know why, but it's annoying me, so I keep trying to get it out. So I apologize if I make some weird faces. That's probably what it is. All right, so we've got the Deep Pockets project here. Again, largely abandoned just because of time, and so I'm not able to actually spend a whole lot of time messing with this. But I thought since this is out there, this is something that's been part of our community. Let's use this as kind of the basis of our application. So there are a lot of things that you can do with Claude, with ChatGPT, with Grok, that will help you write code. And and we're to use these tools a little bit here today as well. But I also want to mention that there are some other plugins. So a lot of the IDEs that are out there are starting to get plugins that will interact with these LLMs, give you kind of like a sidebar. I actually have an IDE that's, I think, based off of Visual Studio Code called Windsurf. And that's the one that I typically use. Again, it looks very similar to VS Code, but over here there's a panel. This is put out by, is it Codium? Hang on, Windsurf. I don't know what it is. When I surf, yeah, it used to be Codium, but this is what I typically use. Because for a couple of reasons. One is this allows me to chat with multiple LLMs. If I want to, I can change which one. Right now, it's got ChatGPT 4.1 free, so we're going to use that instead of using. They do have a base model, which is their model that's free, but we're going to use the free ChatGPT. Let me increase this a little bit here. We'll close that. Make this a little smaller. Okay. Man, sorry guys. This is just driving me crazy. Give me 1 second. Okay. Hopefully that's good. So this is generally the one that I use. I do have a plugin from this company for VS Code, so sometimes I will use that. But the difference is the VS Code plugin does not have the ability to interact with your actual files, whereas doing it from here, notice I can just do chat. Oh, I can do a chat, or I can do write. So write will actually give it the ability to interact with my code base and actually make changes. And so that's really what I'm going for at the end of the day. Okay, so one of the big issues that we run into when it comes to working with LLMs and having it write code for us is context. Now, and this is why I prefer to use something like this as opposed to having a bunch of code written by Claude or written by ChatGPT. You really have to spend a lot of time giving these context. Whereas if I'm working with this setup, then I can actually ask it to kind of analyze the application and give me its understanding of what the context is. So we're going to do that right now. We're just going to say analyze. I don't think that's spelled right. All right. The code base, but I can't think right now. So, and tell me what type of application we are building. Don't make any changes. changes. Now, this is really important, especially when dealing with these LLMs that are built in like this. Sometimes, depending on how much you've worked with it and how much you've let it do, it will just start taking on its own responsibility and start doing things that you have not asked for it to do. So especially when I'm asking it to analyze things or understand things, I generally try to tell it don't make any changes, because that's going to generally ensure that it doesn't touch anything. I just want it to figure out what we're working on here. All right, so let me see if I can make this even a little bit bigger. Here we go. That's gonna be really big for you guys, but all right. Let's see what it says. Provide memories. Your project is a web-based application. Pay schedule model includes fields, route guards. Building a project resource management application, which is not true. So, so if you'll notice up here, it says based on analysis of your code base, which is a lie, because there's nothing in here. This is the Deep Pockets project, right? So pay schedule has nothing to do with it. Somewhere along the way, it's got another application that I was working on stuck in its memory, and and so that's not good. All right, so we're gonna do this. We're gonna say that's incorrect. Examine all files in the code base and ignore memory. All right, so what I'm telling it to do is don't use the memory that you had before. Just ignore anything that's in your memory right now. I just want you to analyze the code base that we currently have. All right, now obviously it knows that we've got a Laravel application. Somebody in the chat, let me know if this is really too big, or if you guys can watch it. Oop, not that big. If you guys can see the output here at this level, because this would just be easier to manage, easier for me to read too. So if you're watching live, let me know. I would prefer to stick with this if you can read it. All right, so we're analyzing the code base. It's looking at a bunch of files. Okay, let's see what it says now. After examining the actual file base, yes, it's readable. Thank you, WebWords. Okay, WebWords. All right, after examining the actual files and ignoring prior memories, here's the evidence-based analysis of your code base. I should probably tell it to be a little bit less verbose as well, but whatever. All right, application type. A web-based budget management system built in Laravel on the back end and React components on the front end. It's listing out the evidence. Why does it think this? Very good. Supports a data-driven application. Yep. Codebase is for a budget management web application, which that's what it is. Allows users to create budgets, define categories, and add line items to budgets, and likely manage these entities through a web interface. User authentication is supported. Not exactly true. I mean, there's Laravel comes with some user authentication, but we're not using it. If you want a deeper breakdown, let me know. Okay, so what I would like to do next, or one of the things that I try to do is provide some sort of context. So what I want to do is not just have this stored in memory, but I want to actually have a file in the code base that I can point to every time I reopen this app every time I reopen this project. I want to be able to point it to this information so that it always has the right context when it's working with the code base. Again, one of the issues that we had with the vibe coding was it had very little context. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to tell it to create a requirements document. Okay, so create a new document in docs/AI/requirements.md markdown. All right, and add the context of this application as you just described. All right, so now inside this code base, inside the Deep Pockets project, we're going to find that there is going to be a new document, and it went ahead and opened it for me. So doc/AI, and then we've got this file here. I'm going to scoot this just a bit. All right, and I'll just accept it for now. That's more of a Git thing. So we've got an overview of what's going on, core features and structures, technical stack. All right, let's see if it can figure out what React CSS framework are we using. Just see if it can. It's going through. Okay, it's looking at the package JSON file. That's good. Material UI. All right. Now this is where you're gonna. So like, if I were talking to a human, I'd be like, perfect, and I started doing it already. So again, you don't have to be nice, and that's something I kind of have to work on getting out of, honestly, just because I try to be a nice person, you know. Add this context to the requirements doc. So one of the things that we want to do is we want to constantly be updating the requirements documentation so that, see, I added the CSS UI framework here. Move that up so you can see it around me. Okay, so we'll accept that. Okay, you want to add to the context as you go, as you find things, especially if you see something that it's not doing the way that you want it to do it. You definitely want to add examples of that context. So one of the things that I've noticed in some of my applications is it's one thing to tell it use this CSS framework. It's another thing for it to do the same thing the same way every time. For example, I have an application that I'm working on right now, and I'm using AI to help me do it faster. And there's a lot of lists, and there's a lot of create and edit pages. And generally, the overall look and feel for those should be pretty much the same. They should have the same style on the list. They should have the same style in the create and the edit pages. But it doesn't always follow that. It doesn't naturally go in and just look at, okay, what's an example? So sometimes you have to tell it, this is the template. This is the example that I want you to use, and add some code to it. Now, one nice thing is that we can actually have the AI go through and evaluate some of those things so that it can write its own documentation, right? And so that's what I'm actually going to do right now. I'm going to say, add to this requirements doc examples of the what's the word I'm looking for? The patterns followed in the React components. Let's just see what it comes up with. Now, again, there are times where I'll actually go through and copy paste a component or copy paste a page and tell it use this as the template, and it'll add it there as well. So it's going through, it's examining different aspects of the application, and we've got some. Let me accept all here. All right, so we've got a few things. Functional components. All components are defined as functions, promoting simplicity and reusability. That's kind of just a React thing. Managing local state. Okay. So it's going through and it's adding some more information. These patterns contribute to the code base. It's easy to read, maintain, and extend. Okay, so let's ask it to evaluate its own work and see if it thinks there should be anything else. Is there anything else we need to add to this requirements doc to help you write more consistent code in the future? in the future. There we go. Technically should be a question mark, but again, it's AI. It'll figure it out. All right, so it's going to give me some suggestions here, and I don't always take all these suggestions. One of the reasons I don't always take all these suggestions is that it's just a lot of time to go through and add these things. Generally, I find adding things as we run into problems is is more beneficial. But let's just see. So it says API data contract conventions, specify naming conventions for API endpoints, document expected request response formats for key API endpoints, clarify how shared global states should be handled. File and directory structure, document the preferred organization of React components. That's probably a good one. Testing requirements. We're not even writing tests in this, so I'm not worried about that. Linting and formatting, not really worried about that right now. I don't care about accessibility at the moment for this. Documentation standards. Okay. So this is kind of a good start. Let's tell it to add file and directory, add the updates for file organization. Okay. So it should add a few more things here for the file organization. It's still going. Okay, so it's got some context. Excellent. Okay. So that's one thing. You want to provide context. Another thing that I've started doing is not just providing context, but I provide a way for it to remember everything that we've done, and so it can go back and see where we're at in the process. Again, every time you open this application fresh, it may or may not have the things that you want stored in memory. If you remember when we first jumped in here, it was trying to tell me about some other application that I had done in Windsurf since then. So the memory is not always going to be specific to the code base that you open up. So sometimes you have to clear that memory out and tell it, you know, this is what we've already done. These are the things that we've accomplished so far. And so it's good to have kind of a running history of what has taken place. All right, so let's add a new requirement. Add a new requirement. Keep a record of every code update. Keep a summary record of every code update you perform in a document, docs AI history.md. All right. So now we're adding this to the requirements document, saying, hey, when you're writing code, I want you to store a history in this file called history.md. Would you like a template or initial history for the file, or want further refined process? Let's just see what it comes up with. Give me a proposed template. Okay, so we've got a date, example entry, date, added change history requirement, files affected requirements, summary, add a section requiring all code updates. This is good. Good, but don't include updates to the docs directory. Only actual code changes. Good, good, good. That looks all right. So added budget category model, blah, blah, blah. Would you like me to create this and add the template? Yes. All right. So again, we're giving it a context in this requirements document, and then we're also going to provide context of history so that when we come back to this, it's going to know what things we've already accomplished and have potentially an idea of what we need to do next. Again, we don't want the LLM to think for us. We need to be the ones doing the thinking, but it can take what we're thinking and maybe even sometimes guess what we're thinking and give us some push in the right direction. I think you guys have even seen that some in some of the use of AI that I've had along the way. So, all right, so we've got the history document created. Let's see here. So we've got history.md. Let's just take a look at this and see what it looks like. Code log. Oh, it put the example entry in here. Interesting. Okay, that's fine. It's got the instructions to only add actual code changes, so that's good. Okay. So we've got a template. Now, let's close these guys out. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say, actually, I'm going to drag the requirements document here. And I'm going to say, store this in your memory for the next set of instructions. All right, so now I'm telling it to store the requirements document in its memory so that it has that. And hopefully it will follow those instructions. So let's go take a look at our application. So it's been a long time since we've looked at this application. But I think there's some things that we can start to maybe let AI work on a little bit. So I don't know if we have, do we have accounts at all? Nope. Okay. So, accounts. So an account would be like a checking account or a savings account or something like that, right? So let's come back over here. And before I start asking it to write some code, I want to give it some context again around not just the general application that we're developing, but I want to give it context specifically around what it is that I'm going to ask it to be working on. All right. So sometimes what I'll start with is a question around its understanding of the topic. So I'll tell it something like, we are building a personal budgeting app, not budgeting app. It requires the use, or it requires accounts for managing funds and transfers. What do you know about this topic? All right, so I'm kind of introducing it to what we're going to be working on by having it kind of do its own internal research so that it has an idea of where to start. This will help it help me by providing suggestions along the way. Okay, so we've got, here's what I know about personal budgeting apps. Accounts and transfers. Accounts. Definition. Accounts represent different places where users' money is stored. Allow users to categorize and manage their funds, see balances. Typical fields include account name, type, current balance, and possibly institution, bank details. Okay, that looks good. We're not worried. I'm not worried about this stuff so much. So it kind of got pretty verbose on me there, but it's showing that it understands the type of information that we're going to be dealing with. All right. Now, typically, I prefer to try to get the base set up for our the back end for this application. Now, in here, we've got some migrations. Do we have accounts? We do have a create accounts. So if I know I'm in an existing application where there's code already and things have been done, I'm going to typically ask it to analyze what's already there in the code base for this subject. All right, what is all? I'll do this. So I'll be like, examine the code base and determine what dependencies have dependencies I before E except after C. That doesn't look right. I don't know. What dependencies are already in place to begin developing accounts? All right, we're gonna see. Hopefully, it'll go through. It's looking at the models, looking at the migrations, components, trying to find the word account. So that's good. All right, and it's finding all these things. So we've got an account model. You have the foundational database migration for accounts, balances, and transactions, and a navigation entry for accounts in the front end. To proceed, you'll need to implement account model, related backend logic, create front end. Okay, so let's start by updating the backend pieces. Now, here's a key for me. I'm going to tell it here that I want to walk through the process. I could just say, make it work, you know, like we did with the vibe coding, and then we could get a lot of weird stuff. So I'm going to tell it, before making code changes, I want to list out all the things we need to update in the back end, and let me confirm them one at a time. All right, so hopefully it's going to list out everything that we still need to do. Do we not have an account model? I thought for sure we did. Let's go apps, models. We do not. Okay. So it's correct. All right. Would you like to start by confirming the first item, create the account model? Yes. So the nice thing about this is it typically is going to, when you give it this type of instruction, it's typically going to help you follow through that process. So I don't have to say, let's do number one, let's do number two. Now, I could, but the great thing is I can just respond to this, yes, do it. And we'll see what it comes up with. Now, the other key question is, after it does this, is it going to add the information to our history document? All right, so account model has been created. It includes fillable fields, relationships to balance transactions. Would you like to proceed to the next step? We'll accept the code. Let's take a look at it real fast. Fillable is name, has balances, transactions from, transactions to, from account ID to account ID. All right, good, good, good. So it took our database migration and understood some of the relationships there, and it's added those relationships to the model. So that's good. Now let's take a look at our history and see if the history got updated. It did not. See, this is part of the problem. Even when we put it in the requirements, it doesn't always obey it. Okay. Before that, let's just ask it and see if it will recognize what it did. Did you miss anything from the requirements for writing code? Let's see if it figures it out. The only thing missing is recording the code update in the docs history, which I will do now. All right. Would you like to review the proposed history entry before I add it? Should I proceed? No. I'll just do proceed. typically something like this, it does a good job of following its own template. So we should see that pop up here in the history. Now, hopefully, since I've reminded it that it missed it, it will remember it in the future, but it doesn't always. And that's something that you do want to keep an eye on to make sure that you are um, that you're keeping it accountable. That's interesting. Add about budget category model. Did it add a budget category model? It did not. So I don't know why that is there. Oh, I see what happened. Okay. Let's see if I don't know if you guys can see this because I'm in the way. Hang on one second. Let me just turn me off. Okay. So over here, what happened is we have this example entry, and it replaced the example entry, which was this, with the new entry. All right. So now I want to make sure that it does this right because I want it to be able to follow the history over time. So let me put myself back. Can't be. There we go. Okay. I want to make sure that it's doing it correctly over time so that it can understand its own history. You replaced the example with the new entry. All entries should be appended to the end of the file. Let's see if it can fix it first of all. Would you like me to correct? Yes. So we've created a little bit of a monster by telling it I don't want it to do things until I approve them. But honestly, I would rather have to approve everything than sometimes it just goes off and starts doing things and all of a sudden you got 5 files that were changed and it doesn't look good. Okay, so let's look here. What do we have? We've got description, example, added budget category model, good. And then now this is on here as the last one. Okay, so what did it do? Added account model. Here's the file. This is what it did. Okay, so we're starting to get a history, so that's cool. And it's saying, okay, I did these changes. Would you like to move forward with this now? Yes. Okay, so I'll kill that history for now. All right. Here's what I will do for the next backend setup, reviewing and consolidating the account-related migrations. Identify duplicates and redundancies. There are 2 migrations. Interesting. Required migration structure. Remove or update. Let's just go back, scroll back up here and see what are the things that it said. Okay, so account migration cleanup was the next thing on the list. So that's good. It's following the list still. Do I want to see a proposed structure? No, just proceed. All right, we'll see what it does in cleaning it up. And then we'll see if it adds it to the history here so that it knows what it did in the past. Let's see. Would you like to confirm the proposed fields for the accounts table, or would you like suggestions before I update the migration or remove the redundant file? Institution account number, notes, check. No, I don't want to add any of those things. Again, this is kind of nice. So this is why I asked it early on. What does it know about accounts in a budget application? So it's giving some suggestions. Things that we would want to put in there, but right now I don't want to do that. It's not part of the application that we're really building, but it's giving me some information. It might be things that I hadn't thought about before. So this is, again, where AI can be really helpful, but also can start taking you down a path that will take more time it could take you down a path that is outside the scope of the project. So while there are some good suggestions here, it may not actually be right for what we're building. So that's something to keep in mind as you do this. So let's just no, just update. So I'll just tell it just update it. I don't want to confirm anything else or add anything else. Let's just make the changes. Alrighty. Okay, so we've got a couple files, that were edited. Create accounts and accounts. Migration has been edited to include name, type, user ID, timestamps. Redundant empty migration has been removed. Would you like to proceed to the next step? All right, so I want to come back over here. Here's the items that were added to the accounts. Now, notice that we're updating a migration, and it's not offering something really that it should offer, but something that we should think about. And that is, I've already got this application running. So that means I've already run the migration. So I'll probably want to rerun the migration. I'm gonna want to do like a fresh migrate. So we're gonna accept those changes for now. The next question is, did we get a history update? Add account model. We did not get a history update. All right, so let's ask it, did you miss anything? Again, trying to get it into its memory. Not yet recorded the migraines. Would you like me to? Yes, record it. All right, then we're gonna ask it a question after it does this recording. All right, so it's recorded it at the end, so that's good. Consolidate account migrations, files affected. All right, empty migration file to ensure single, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Before we move on, what can we do to ensure you always remember to update the history file? So I'm asking it to tell me, what can I do to interact with you better so that you update the history? Really, I want it to do it without me having to remind it, or without me having to put it into my prompt, right? So process memory commitment, I'll explicitly commit to several strategies I can implement. So process memory commitment, automated checklist. For every code change, I will follow a mental checklist. Mental checklist. Persistent. Would you like me to formalize this as a persistent memory so it's always referenced for this project? Yes. Add it as persistent memory. Excellent. Let's see. Let's go to next step. Sometimes I just type go, sometimes proceed, sometimes do it. It typically understands what you're talking about. So we're creating an account factory. And I'm going to close the history here. So if you're not familiar, factories are ways of generating items in your database. Typically, you would use these inside of a seeder so that you're not creating all the details yourself. You can call a category and it will fake, the information. So it uses faker. So it's doing interesting here. Let me move this guy out for a bit so you guys can see this. So it's creating a name. So it's using a fake word account, which is a good convention for naming it. We've got checking, savings, cash, and credit. That should work fine. And then user ID is pulling in a new user, actually. So it's going to create a user, it looks like. So that's cool. All right. Not sure that I want it to create a user. So let's do this. Let's do update the factory to use an existing user not create one. Let's make sure I'm understanding what it's doing here. Okay, so I'm going to accept this even though I can't see it. So it's just going to grab a random user, the first one, grab its ID, or it's going to use one, which is kind of silly. But I mean, if there is only one, it's going to pull one, and otherwise it's going to have a random user. So this isn't necessarily needed, but it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Okay, so we've got an account factory that's been created, and we've got add account factory. So that was added to the history, and updating it to use an existing user was added to the history. So now our history context is being updated. So that is awesome. Okay, we'll kill the history for now. Kill these guys. Don't need all these files open. Okay. All right, account factory has been updated. Would you like to proceed to the next backend step? Yes. Or let's do proceed, just so it's clear. And just, what was it saying? We're doing create an account seeder, or let me know how you'd like to continue. Oh, I didn't tell it. Create an account controller. Let's do this. Create a seeder first, then move on to the others. All right, so we're going to create a seeder. And again, this is, if you guys were part of the Deep Pockets project before, you'll know we were using factories then. And again, that just makes it a really quick, easy way to do a lot of seeded data in your model. So we're doing a factory, count 10, create. Again, let's go back and just check our history. Do we have that? Added account seeder. Good. All right. So I'm not going to check the history every time. It looks like we've finally got it to start doing what we want. Let's do proceed. All right. So now we're going to be doing a controller and routes. All right. So it's creating an account controller. And we'll look at that here in just a second. Again, one of the things you always want to do when you're writing code with AI is read the code. You want to go back through, you want to look at it, you want to make sure that it's not doing something that you wouldn't want it to do. For example, we saw that issue with the user. I didn't want it to create a new user every time. I want it to use something that's existing. So don't just accept the code. That was one of the principles of vibe coding, was you just let it write the code and accept whatever it generates. No, I want to accept the code. I want it to work within the application that I'm building. Okay, so we've got a lot of things that have happened here. So we've created an account controller, edited the history. That's good. Edited API.php and edited the history. All right. Here's what we've accomplished. Account seeder, account controller, API routes registered for accounts. Every code change has been recorded. Good. All right, let's, I'm going to accept this just to make it easier to read. So here's our account controller. Account all, that's good. So it's using our account model. For the index store, we've got our validation of the request. Now, there are other ways to validate things in Laravel. So if you're watching this and you know Laravel and you know this is probably not the best way to do it, I get it. We're working on a very simple process here. All right, so we're making sure the name's required. It's got some good information. We want the user to exist that's coming in, or that's being passed in. And actually, we're not going to pass in the user. So again, this is another thing that I want changed. And I know this because I'm reading through the code and I'm checking it to make sure that it's giving me the things that I want to see. All right, let's do update the controller to assume the current user instead of requiring the user to be passed in the API. Or in the request. There we go. Okay. So I wanted to update the account controller and remove the user ID from the validation process and use the built-in uh, user uh, information, right? The authorized user, the one that's logged in. All right, so it removed that. Account controller's been updated. Would you like to update the update method to also restrict changes? Yes, this should apply to the whole file. So apparently it still left it in the update. So at least it asked me. I was going to get there. I haven't gotten there yet on the update stuff. So, okay. So something that it did here, this is good. Again, it's so this is where we have some assumptions being made by the LLM, right? So the LLM, because I told it that the authorized user, the logged in user, is the one is applicable to the entire file, it took that very literally, including the list of accounts, so that in its mind every user can have their own accounts. Now, when we were building this out, this was not intended to be a multi-user application. But I'm going to go ahead and leave this code here. If I were if I were like really making sure we were developing this the way that I wanted to, I would probably remove this. Now, this is an instance where I would just make the change here, right? Because all I'm going to do is come in here and change this to all, right? So that's an easy fix. I can go in, I can do that. There's no reason to sit here and type to the AI and tell it to make this small change, all right? So we need to be careful about what we're using AI for, what we're using the LLM for. If it's a simple change and I know what the change should be, just do it. It's going to be faster than dealing with the AI. So don't get so caught up in using the AI to do things that you could do yourself. Now, the reason I asked it to make the other change here is, quite frankly, I just don't always remember what this is, which sounds terrible, but I knew it would know, and so I'm going to tell it to do it, right? So we've got a little bit of formatting things here that I want to change. You know, I can just do this. I know it's going to be the same user every time because there's only one user. Really, we're not logged in though. So this could actually present a problem because we're not using authentication for this application. So I think that's actually going to come back to bite us later on. So let's do this. We've made a lot of changes that have included the user, right? And we don't need things to be user specific because we're not actually logging into this system. So let me give it some more context. Usually I'll do something like this. Add this to the requirements doc. Requirements doc. This application does not use authorization. Users will not be logged in. Do not create any requirements or records of user interaction. Okay. So hopefully it understands this. And I actually should have asked it to tell me, do you understand the issue? Let's see if it understands what it is I'm telling it. Should not use authorization. Users will not be logged in. There should be no requirements, logic, or database records related to users or user interaction. All references to user ID, user relationships, or authentication logic must be removed. Okay, good. So it's recognizing that we need to take some stuff out. Would you like me to proceed removing all user-related code and logic from the account feature and any other relevant parts of the code base. And the account feature, yes. Okay, let me accept what we've got here just to clean this stuff up. Close these editors. Okay, and yes, let's do it. Okay, let's see what all it comes up with, because I don't think we used user information when we were writing code manually. I think it's just the account stuff, but I want to see what all it changes. Okay, so it's definitely changing all the account items. Okay, so it didn't find it anywhere else, it looks like. So let's take a look at the changes. So here, I wish this was not in the way. That does annoy me. It's one of the reasons why I end up usually just accepting everything and then going back and looking at it. So we're just removing the user completely from the factory definition. Okay, that's good. We're removing it from this. From the account model. I don't know that it was there necessarily, but okay. And we're removing, so what we were just working on, so the store method and the update method. So we've still got something here in the update that it missed. All right. Let's do, now again, this is something where really I could just do this, right? Bloop. So let me accept everything again. I'm going to come back in here. See, it knows what the issue is. It's saying, you want to remove this? I'm going to hit tab, and that will just let me remove it. And down here again, so it knows. Delete. Oops, excuse me. Oh, hang on, sorry. And then down here. Oh, that's really weird. It's trippy when it does weird things. You can't see this. When it does weird things like this, where it's using part of this line to get rid of this one, like it's just, ugh, I hate that, but whatever. All right, tab. Okay, so now that's correct. We're gonna save that. Okay, so let's check our file again. Make sure we don't have anything in here about use. Oh, we got another one. So tab. All right. See, this is again another case where the AI gave us some what looked like a good idea, but we forgot that we're not using that concept in this application. So it took us down a path that wasted time actually from moving forward with what we wanted to do. Hey, Maz, good to see you. Welcome. I don't remember where you're from, Maz. Let me know. All right, so account controller, and then we updated the migration again to not have the user information in there. Okay, so it looks like all those files got updated correctly, but you know what I don't see in here? I don't see the history file. Maybe it just didn't open it. Let's take a look at the history file and see if there's anything in here about this. Restrict all account controller actions to authenticated user. Nope, it did not add the history. Would you like me to, oh, haha, what do you know? Look right here. Would you like me to update the history file with these changes? Yes, update history. Note that the user updated some instances of auth checks in the controller that you missed. Okay. Just you know, giving a little smack. Oh, Australia, that's right. All right. Good to see you again. What time is it over there? Good grief. Shouldn't be like the middle of the night. I actually have some friends that just are they back now? I don't remember if they're back now, but they were over in New Zealand for like 3 weeks. This might be the last week that they're there. I'll have to look it up. But what time is it in Australia? I could look it up, but Okay, let's see. So, do you want me to proceed with final audit? Yeah. Yes, do final audit. So we kind of had to go down this path that wasted, 20 minutes. 2 a.m. Good grief. Well, I'm happy to provide hopefully some entertainment for you in your insomnia. So hopefully it's entertainment. All right. No references. Removed all its code base fully compliant with requirements. Would you like to proceed to another feature, review any other part of your project? Let's find out what was the original list for accounts. List of updates needed for accounts. All right, let's come back here. Okay. Review migrations, implement that, front end development. Okay, so we should be on the front. Oh, I never got to the routes. Haha. Let's see. So we did the seeders and migrations. I never looked at the route information. So here's our route changes. API. Oh, why is it way up there? Okay. All right, so this is something that we're going to add again to our requirements document. Let's give it some more instruction. Okay. Add this to the requirements document. Oops. It started, see, this is the stupid thing. So it started to make updates to the requirements document, but it didn't know what to update yet. Okay. All new routes should be appended to the file. You added the route at the top of the page for accounts. All new route groups should not use API resource, but should follow the following convention. All right, and then I'm going to give it this as an example. All right. So now I'm telling it, hey, you need to add this to the requirements document so that we know how to do these things correctly in the future. Okay, and we still need this to be updated as well. Would you like to update the existing accounts? Yes. Yes, update it. So it knows it didn't do it right the first time, so we're going to have it update. All right, so we removed it from up here. It's now down here, and we're following the conventions that I want, and that should be stored and followed in the future. Okay. Uh-oh, what do we got here? We've got an extra. So again, this is something, I'm just going to fix this, right? Since we've got some weird stuff, but there's no reason to tell the LLM to do it. Okay. Appended as per requirements. We'll get rid of that. I don't want that. Okay. All right, so the API looks good for now. It should be, actually, let me check it. So it should be pointing to our account controller, which it is, prefixed by accounts. And again, this is the API, not the web. So we'll need to make sure when we do the front end that the web routes gets updated correctly. But we're using the controller pattern here. Index store, show, update, destroy, account. Okay, so all that looks good for now. And, okay, so let's come back over here. And let's see. Oh, it didn't update the history file. Yes, always update history. All right, update API routes, accept all. Okay, what's the next step? Oh, it's going to tell me right now. If you'd like to proceed with front end work, further back end features, let's go front end. All right. Okay, good. So it's giving me all the options, things that it thinks that we should do. And so now we're going to go through those one at a time. All right, so create an accounts React component, show a list of all accounts, allow creating, editing, and deleting accounts, using Material UI for styling. So that's good. It recognizes what it's supposed to be using. Fetch the data from the API accounts endpoints. All right, so yes. Would you like me to start with the accounts list? Start with the list. Scaffold directory, blah, blah, blah. We'll see what it comes up with. So it's looking through a lot of stuff. I think it's trying to see if there's already something that needs to be created. And there's already a problem, I think. Are we using JSX or are we using TSX? Let me open up our resources, JS components. Okay, we're using JSX. Okay, so it's doing the right thing. And I've been in Vue and inertia a lot lately, so this is throwing me off. So I've got to remember how we were doing this before myself. So okay, integrate account lists in your main app. Next recommended steps. Okay, now this will be interesting because we had a very specific process, if you remember, for adding these components, right? So in our app, these list pages are added down here as a load component. So I'm interested to see if it follows the same pattern when we get there. So that'll be interesting. Let's see. Gracefully handles loading account list components has been created. Fetches and displays accounts from your backend using Material UI. Gracefully handles loading error and empty states. Okay, before we do this, let's go through and see if we can run our migrations. Oops. What happened here? Oh, haha. New tab. All right, let's make this bigger. Okay, let's do PHP artisan. Uh-oh. Looks like the stream's slowing down. Let me know if you guys are seeing issues with the stream. It says it's low. Anyway, otherwise I'm gonna keep going. So PHP artisan migrate fresh. So we're gonna replace everything. Not necessarily necessary, but then I'm gonna do a seed. We should get all of our seeded stuff back when we do that. Uh-oh, okay, we got an error. Create migration table. This is not good. Run the migrations. Error. Accounts table not found. Accounts table not found. And that's in the migrations migrator. Accounts table not found. What file is it trying to run? Create balances, transactions, accounts, create accounts. What's after create balances? Let's check our files here. Always something. Accounts table. Now, this is interesting. So, if you remember, it said that it removed this, but we didn't check that. So it updated the create table It updated this one, but it did not remove this migration. So this migration is still trying to run, but it doesn't have anything in it. All right. Again, you gotta check up on the AI. So really, we just want to delete this. Delete. All right. Now let's try running it again. And that ran a whole lot better. All right, so we've got budget seeder, category seeder. We missed something too here. So the AI missed something else. It wrote a seeder for the account seeder, but it did not add that seeder to the database seeder file. So as you can see, we've got budget categories, we've got budget seeder, but we didn't add the account seeder. Now it's helping me out here. So that's nice. But this is gonna fail because we're not pulling it in. So let me import this. For some reason, it's not smart enough to do that. Okay, let's try it again. Again, these are things that I can just manually change. It's going to be faster than telling the AI to fix it. So just manually change it. All right, so now we've got our budget categories seated. Our, well, you guys can't see that, but our accounts seated, things like that. Okay, so sometimes it just isn't a good place for me to be. So, all right. So now we've got that stuff seated. We should still have, yep, all of our seeded information, so that's still good. All right, we'll leave those up. Okay, now, let's see. So we've got that fixed. So everything is available. I just wanted to make sure we had data available to be able to actually look at it. All right, get some sleep, Maz. Good luck. Okay, so we've got an account list. Let's take a look at this file. So we've got, this was created in our JS components account list. So let's take a look here. Move this guy over just a tad. We'll accept it just to make it easier to read. Okay, so we've got our imports, accounts, loading, error. That's cool. So it's doing use effect to fetch the API accounts from the accounts from the API. So set accounts, set loading from the data. That looks good. Using circular progress. Okay. So then we have our accounts paper. So this seems to be following, just from what I can remember, it's following kind of this convention. Although it has the account's name outside of the paper. So that might be something that we want to, no, it's inside the box, but it's above. So let's just see, let's see if we can get there. Do we have a route yet? API, no web route yet. Okay, so no web route. Okay. Let's see what's recommended next. Integrate account list into your main app. Add router page or link from your navigation. Optionally add features for creating, editing, deleting. Would you like to? Okay, let's add the component to the app and update the accounts menu item to point to a new route that loads this component. We'll see what happens. Okay. So I gave it a couple of different things to do here. And this is where it can get a little bit dangerous. If you're trying to give it too many things to change at the same time, it can really go haywire. So let's take a look at the changes to the app.js. We've got account list has been added here. Okay, so it figured out the convention that we're using, so that's good. And it's added it here, account list page. We've got the component loading. We've got our nav menu. Oh, why is it adding a link? Does it need to add a link? Where is it using the link? Yeah, it declared a value, but it's not doing anything. So it hasn't figured out the path for menu items. Oh, hang on. Failed to import React DOM. It's because we're not using that. We're not using that. We are not using React router DOM. Laravel is handling the routes. Okay, so it added. Okay. So we've got a path name and accounts, and it removed the other thing that it did. List item button component A. Component equals A. I don't understand. What did it do here? What did it do? Before we accept anything, let's come back over here. Okay, so we've got accounts. It's trying to hit the accounts web route, so that's good. So that's all set up. I don't understand these changes here, though. Why is it doing this? I don't like this change. So let's take that out. Save the file. See if this still works. It does. Okay. I don't know why it made that change, but again, this is why you go through the code base and see what's up. We'll just leave the star for now. I don't want to make a whole lot of changes there. What's happening here? Oh, it's just some changes in layout of the code base, spacing. Okay. The rest of that stuff's fine. We'll accept those changes. I don't know why it wants to create style here. Okay. It's not using it anywhere, so that's good. Okay, so we've got that and that. Now we just need the web route. Please add the web route. Okay, so we edited web. All right, so we've got route view. We're going to tell it no, follow the route controller convention. Follow the route controller convention and document that convention in the requirements doc. All right, so it didn't add the way that I want it to add. I want it to use the controller convention, and so we're going to update that. And I don't know, it keeps messing up and giving us an extra ending here, but it's going to add that and then hopefully add that to the requirements documentation so that moving forward it uses the right structure. Okay, we'll accept all and we'll fix this bug manually. Okay, so now we should be able to hit accounts. Oh, 404. Why are we getting a 404? Sometimes when you update routes, you have to go in and do PHP artisan optimize. That'll just get rid of any caching for routes and configuration. But it's still not loading anything. So that is the next question. Why is it not loading anything? Let's look at our route again. Oh, this is annoying. Okay, let's import the class. There we go. So we don't have that craziness going on. We got a prefix accounts and a group. That all should be good. It should be pointing to the index on the account controller. So let's go to our account controller. App, HTTP controllers, account controller. Let's see. Oh, well, this is why. So this is only returning data. It's not returning a view. This is something that we've not dealt with in the project yet. So let's go back. It's been a long time since I've looked at this. Let's see. What were we doing to handle this? Were we doing anything to handle this? My guess is that we were doing something incorrectly. Okay, so we've got our JS, our views, budget. Okay, so this is what we were doing. So we actually need to add views. This is, I'm coming from recently working with Inertia that kind of handles some of this routing for us. Let's do this. Let's copy this. We're going to come over here and we're say update requirements doc. And I'm going to say new web routes require a new view directory with an index.blade.php file for that route with the following code conventions. Boom. All right. Nope. Okay. So we're going to tell it that when it creates a web route, we're going to need to create this this directory. So again, if we take a look at this, we've got our views, budget, and then an index.blade file and a detail.blade file. All right, so it's understanding that, it's making those updates to the requirements doc, and it's asking, would you like me to create that for the accounts route? So yes. So we should be able to see an accounts directory. Yep, we do. An index.blade.php file. All right. File created, contents, use a standard Blade structure, your front end and back end. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So we got accounts listing page. That's good. Adding created. Let me do this. Let's say, do we need to update the controller? Because I know we need to update the controller. But let's see if it already did it. It did not. So it's still using account all. Would you like me to update it? Yes. All right. So it's recognizing that that needs to be changed. And it gave me two options, so thankfully it understood what I meant when I said yes. Okay, so return view accounts.index. And again, we're pulling the accounts via the API, so we don't have to do anything about loading account information in here. We'll have to update this later as well, potentially depending on how we do this. We might not. Okay, so account controller index method now returns to blade view. So one of the things hopefully you're noticing is as you're setting up a lot of these conventions and requirements, it takes time. But once it has those requirements and it can read through the history and it can read through that context, it gets better at writing the code later on. So the first times that you're interacting with this, it's going to be It's going to be a labor of love, but it will help speed things up along the way. Generally, unless you fall too much into the vibe coding, then it can get hairy again. Now returns the blade view. Okay, so let's try it out. So if we go here, it's still not doing anything. Why is this being a jerk? Okay. Sometimes when I'm streaming, it does some weird things. Okay. Accounts, still getting a 404. Why are we getting a 404? We're returning a view, accounts.index. Is that the right view? Views, accounts.index. That should be correct. So we're returning that view. We should at least be getting that view. Are we pulling? Let's look at our web route. Account controller, which we have here, slash index. It shouldn't be. Is it this? Oh, I hate. Ugh. Computer's having issues. Nope, shouldn't be that. Okay. What in the world is going on? So we've got a route. Accounts/index. Oh, maybe we need to update. Let's try this again. Optimize. It's so frustrating when your computer is being stupid. That loads. Accounts is still getting a 404. Let's see. Group function route get /index. Should be getting the index. Let's ask chat. Let's ask our chat. So getting 404 on web route. I don't know why it shouldn't be getting a 404 because we have sure, let's list the routes. Accounts, get accounts. All right, so the route is there. Do we have an issue over here? Ah, okay, something died. Well, no, it's back up and running. Let's just restart it. npm run dev. Oops, npm run dev. Let's see if that makes a difference. Nope. Still just getting a 404, so that's not the problem. All right, let's troubleshoot. Route should you register get route handled by that. After route changes, conflicting route and routes. Conflicting route and routes API shouldn't affect the web as we're checking. So that's interesting. Let's open up this. Oop. All right, so we do have a get route here. Let's try removing that from the API routes since we're pulling it in from the same controller. But it should be API/accounts. So I don't know why that would be causing the problem, but let's see. Let's try it. That doesn't seem to be the issue. Streaming is not good for your memory. Nope, that didn't fix it. Well, we did make a route change, so let's do optimize again. Man, this thing is just annoying. Nope, still 404. All right, we removed the duplicate route, so that's not it. Incorrect controller method, signature missing view. No, we've got all the views and the controllers. Accessing accounts with a trailing slash or typo. I don't think so. You wrote the code. Accounts. Where's our web file? Account controller, prefix accounts slash index. That should be good. We're not using names, so that shouldn't be an issue. Route cache is stale. I already updated that. Once the route list command completes, I'll advise the next step. Still 404. This is really interesting. I can't find anything that says it should not be working. Hey, Kelly. Good to see you. No, we're not back to the Deep Pockets project. I'm just using it as examples of how to do some best practices when it comes to using AI. Accounts. Whoa. Oh, I thought that was doing accounts slash accounts. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, we're just using accounts. Which also work, but we're checking. Avoid typos or it's all typed right. If you're using route caching, maybe stale, tried that. Does the view exist? Resource views, yes. The view exists. It's in resources, views, accounts, index.blade.php. That's what we've got. It's using layouts.app, which is correct. All of that should be good. Just for fun. Let's comment that out and see if it gives us anything. 404 is not found, so that's the problem. Clear and rebuild the route. Yeah, sure. Okay. That's kind of what we did with optimize. Man, if anybody sees something that's standing out to them that says that this should be working, I get really annoyed, especially when I'm streaming and it does this. It just gets to where like it doesn't want to respond. Okay. Yeah, we've got a controller, and it's pointing to that. Oops, that's not what I want. Go back. That's really weird. And we restarted the front end, so that's not the issue. No go. Let's see. Yes, systematically check it, please. Return view. That's correct. Yep, blade rendered page. Your file exists at that. Web server, make sure you're running PHP version 0. I'm not doing that. I'm using herd. That's incorrect. Route grouping. Yes, home route. Okay, let's try it. All right, so it's wanting to add something here. So test dash accounts. That does not load either. I think maybe my machine is just tired. Let's do PHP artisan optimize jump back over here. Just reload this. npm run dev. Now see, this is interesting. I don't know why the app URL is localhost. All right. Well, my computer is having issues for sure, which is really annoying. Sometimes I think the memory gets clogged when I'm doing live streams, especially when I'm doing a lot of stuff and not just talking. So I suspect this will work later once probably I restart the computer. Actually, let me try something else here. Yeah. CPU is pretty hot at the moment. Deep Pockets top test. Let me kill. So I'm using Herd for my local development. Let me quit Herd and restart it and see if that makes a difference. So like now nothing here should load. Should just get a not found. Yeah. Okay, so that's at least having an impact. Let's try loading. All right, Herd is back up and running. And still getting 404. Bummer. Try moving the route function to the top of the web PHP file. That shouldn't change because that's a new route. It's not being used in APIs or anywhere else. If it does change, then we've got other issues. Let's update our cache. Okay, so that's going through. Well, interesting. I don't like that at all. So we'll move the account controller up. Yeah, it's still not finding. Oh, hang on. Let's redo this. There it is. Okay. Now, see, that's annoying. That is annoying. So that means it's probably an interaction between the API ones still as well. But why? Why? Because these should all be prefixed by API. Let's do this. Let's take a look at PHP Artisan route list. All right, so we've got accounts. So we only have one accounts. The rest of these are API. API accounts, API accounts. I don't know why moving that to the top should have made a difference. Yeah, it really shouldn't need to be updated. What's interesting is this guy. I wonder if it's because this. If because our base route is set up this way. That's probably what it is. Because our base route is set up the way that it is, it probably needs everything else to be up in front of it because it's probably catching it. Um, yeah, yeah. So it's viewing. Let's go back here. I think what's happening is it's viewing the budget controller route because it doesn't have a prefix. I think it's working as a catch-all, and so that's preventing it from doing what we want it to do. Okay. That makes sense to me, actually. It's stupid, but it makes sense. So let's go back. What else did we do? We changed... where's our view? View count index.blade. Okay. So let's uncomment this, and let's finally see if the thing that AI created will load. Failed to fetch accounts. Well, there we go. Let's do a little inspection here. Failed to load. Server responded with a 405 method not allowed. What? Let's refresh the page. Fetch accounts. Get. Oh, it's because we killed it. All right, let's go back to our API route and put the get method back in. Thankfully, it suggested it. Very good. All right, let's reload the page. It's a little annoying that it... Oh, let's optimize again. Unexpected token. Oh, that's interesting. Why are we getting... Oh, because we're not returning JSON. Because... So here's a problem. Okay. We should have created an API controller as well as a web controller, because that's how we have things set up. So I don't want to do that manually. So let's come over here and let's say for API routes, we need to use an API controller, not the main controller. Update the requirements doc with this information and update and add a new API slash account control account API control. Is that the convention that we have? Let me look here. So we do have API budget API control. Yeah. Account API. Whoop. Well, oops. Sometimes you accidentally hit the button. We'll see if it can figure out what we're supposed to do. It's adding the requirements. I want to see what it added here. All API routes must include dedicated API controller. Account API main. Okay, that's good. That's good. Now it's creating an API controller. Let's see what's in here. Return account all, that's fine. Store, show, update, destroy. Those are the only methods we need. That's good. Okay, we'll definitely accept that. I updated the history, edited the API PHP endpoint, probably updating the controller that it's calling. Yeah, so we want to import that. Again, I'll just do that because it's faster than telling it to do it. All right, so we're using the account API controller now. And we want to update the account controller to remove the API methods. Update account. Again, I could just do this because it's just deleting stuff, but just to show you, how maybe interact with it. Controller to remove API specific methods. Now, one of the reasons why it created it the way it did is because if you remember originally in the route file, it set up as a resource. So it was not following the convention that we were trying to create. It was following another convention, which is acceptable if you're doing everything through Laravel Blade components. Um, but doesn't really work for how we have it set up. Now this is so this is an example of why you don't just tell the AI to do it all the time. It removed everything from the account controller except for the listing. So that means we're going to have it put back more methods when we're editing and things like that. It is what it is. You know, it's annoying, but we'll just go with it. We'll go with the flow for now. It's just making it smaller at the moment. So let's see if it works. Let's see if everything's now working the way that it should. Oh, we updated the routes. Let's do that again. And okay. These are some interesting route names. Okay, so what this gave us, and we didn't really look at it, is it literally gave us a list. I didn't give it any information about what I wanted that list to look like, but we would normally assume that it would look something like this, right? That it's going to give us a table. I didn't tell it to do that, so it didn't follow any conventions. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to come in here. We're going to say examine the budget. What's the name of the file? So many files open. Go away. Okay. We want JS components budget list JSX. The budget list.jsx file. Use that as a template for all list components moving forward. Add this to the requirements doc. All right, so again, we're giving it more context for the future as we develop other things. Let's see what it comes up with in the requirements document. Let's see. All list components must use budget list as a template. Use material UIs, table, table head, table body, blah, blah, blah. Provide clear column headers and consistent cell alignment. Support pagination, include edit button. So it's pulling in a lot of stuff from that budget list.jsx file. So that's good. And now, if you'll notice, it went ahead and started. Oh, no, sorry, that's something else. Okay, never mind. So edited that. Examine. Here's the information. Would you like me to refactor existing account list? Yes. Okay, so it's got what we've been working on in its memory. So I'm going to tell it to go ahead and do that. And we'll see what happens here. I don't know if it'll. Sometimes it pops it up when it's editing it. Sometimes it doesn't. All right, so we got a lot more stuff going on here. We're using what is this? Table pagination. Oh, okay. So we've got our table row. There might be some things in here if I really studied it that I don't like. Like, for example, this table pagination thing would probably be something that I would want to move out into its own component. I don't know if we did that in the budget. Yeah, it looks like it's part of the budget as well. So since we were using the same stuff in multiple places, I would have it move it out. But for now, we'll stick with this. Is it using... all right, it's not hard-coded, so it should be pulling stuff in. Let's see what it did. Okay, so we've got... Oh, now we're missing the header information, and we don't have the ability to search. So let's take a look at that. Let's see what it says here. Now have a consistent maintainable UI pattern for features. We'd like to proceed to implementing edit, action, modal, or add similar list components elsewhere. No. This is missing the page title and the search options. Option and new button. Let's see if it can find those patterns here. Look at that. We're already 2 hours in. So as you can see, AI can be really good and really useful, but you've got to train it. You've got to give it. Now, the nice thing about using AI rather than having this is where people get to thinking that AI is going to replace developers, is I can give it all these instructions and give it context, and it can pick it up faster than somebody going and looking at documentation. But all that really should do is help us develop things faster as we move along in a project. So, all right, so it looks like we've got some search stuff. Uh-oh, it doesn't like box. So it's got some lint errors. That's good. It's recognizing we've got some lint errors. And it should be pulling in. I don't know why there's a lint error here, but not here. That's interesting. What is the lint error? No corresponding closing tag. Ah, that's why. So it should have a closing tag down here somewhere. Oh, it does. Interesting. Oh, it just added it maybe. Ah, just added it. Okay. That makes sense. You now have a robust, maintainable, and user-friendly account list component. I love how proud of itself it is. All right, let's accept it and see what happens over here. Refresh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Something's not good. Text field is not defined. Text field is not defined. Okay, well. Why don't we define it? Let's see. Text field. Where is the text field? All right, so let's import. I can't import that. Let's just do. Where's our. So here's something that I don't like. So it's suggesting this. I would prefer to pull all of these things in from just the UI material. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go do. That's not going to work. Okay. Let's see if it can figure it out. Nope. Nope. Figure out what I'm doing, Spanky. It's not catching on. That's annoying. Sometimes it'll catch on to what you're doing if you're doing the same thing multiple times. Sometimes it will not. So, oops, nope. Do. All right. Let's see if it will figure out what to do here. What? Stop. I must have clicked something. Okay. Here we go. All right, now we're cooking with gas. Boom. 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 Oh. That's not what I want. Boom. Boom. All right. Clean that up a little bit. I hate importing every single thing individually. Yeah. So text field, please add that. All right. Let's add this. Okay. When importing React components, ensure components are imported from the parent directory where possible. C import C material C at MUI/material as example. Store in requirements. All right, again, we're going to update our requirements document. And again, this is kind of tedious to keep doing this, but I want it to have information that shows what it's supposed to be doing. So that hopefully in the future it does it better according to the conventions that I want. Because again, AI is not going to follow my specific conventions unless I tell it to. And so I've got to keep it informed along the way. Okay. Let's see what else we have issues with. Something died. Does not provide export named keyboard arrow left. Interesting. So apparently there was something in there that needs to be imported its own. Icons material, that's why. Okay, so we could, again, we don't want that. We could import this. There we go. Okay, let's try it again. Load. You can do it. Yay! All right, so we're still missing a little bit of design stuff. The accounts should be inside the page, the paper, instead of outside. So add to requirements doc. All content of the list page should be inside the paper component, like the budget list. We'll see what it comes up with here. Updating the requirements documentation. What did it change? I don't see the change. Is it down here? I don't see the change in that edit history. Okay. Refactor the account list. Because it's still sitting there like that. Hopefully it doesn't go change all of our imports again. Because I don't know why these are this way. I'm gonna update this here in the budget list. There we go. Okay, it's still thinking and working. It's got some issues. It's got some issues it's working out here. Uh, uh, uh. Hmm. 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 I don't know why it's using a table container up here. That's annoying. Why is it doing weird stuff? Oh, that's because it does it here. Why would we do that? Who made this budget page? That's what I want to know. That's set up. Counts. Okay. Well, that's closer. That's closer to what we're looking for. Okay. Good. This is not how I would design it, so but again, this is just for an example. We're not actually building the app out a whole lot. Okay. So we've got a list, and again, that took quite a bit of time, but honestly, 2 hours. So it took 2 hours to build out the back end and the front end for just listing out the accounts. Um, that's probably more of an hour or less if we were just doing that from scratch, especially since we know we're going to copy paste stuff from like the budget list and make changes. Um, but what this has done is this has allowed us to have a context for when I shut this down and come back to it, which I probably won't. But if we do in the future, it will give us a context to know, A, what all have we done, um, which the history doesn't seem to be being updated. Let's do this. It looks like the history file is a good bit behind. Can you update it? Let's see what all it adds. So the last thing that we have in here, oh, it was 11:49. So that was only 15 minutes ago. And that was creating the account API controller. Here we go. Here we go. Add a couple things in there that we've done in the last 15 minutes. All right, excellent. All right, so now we have a history. We have a growing requirements document that's going to give us a step up, hopefully allow things to move faster as we develop more pieces of the code base, if we were to develop more pieces of the code base. Usually I would take this and I would push those documents up to the repository as well. If you're working as a team, you'll want to make sure and read through those requirements changes to make sure nobody's adding weird requirements. But even this is just good practice to upload those things into your repository no matter what, just so it's excellent. It's having issues. Not updating because edit tool is failing to match the last divider due to wipe space formatting differences. Okay, so it's having issues updating it. Let's have it try again. Try again. If it fails again, we'll just copy paste it in. It shouldn't be having problems because it should just be appending the data. Malformed edit that Cascade was unable to apply. Analyze the file first, then add the new lines. File might be getting to a point where it doesn't know what to do. Yeah, it's got an issue. I will update it manually, and then the next time I'll see if it will be able to find it and Each founds with a divider and a single blank line. All previous log entries follow a consistent format. The last entry is for the creation of the account API controller. There are no code change entries, recent account stuff. Append the 2 missing entries. Assure these are appended after the last divider. Yeah, you know what to do, but it's not working. That's interesting. I wonder if it's because of the new line. Huh. Well, let's update it. Let's do its job for it. Make sure it's following the same conventions. It is. That seems to all be good. All right. Okay. All right. Well, it's definitely been 2 hours. So, for those of you who jumped in and watched us struggle through this, thank you. Hopefully, it was helpful and enlightening, and give you some good tips and tricks along the way as you're working with AI. Some of this can be done in ChatGPT or in Claude directly in the browser, but you have to upload files and give it even more context. Whereas if you use an editor like this, it already has the context, or you can tell it to search through the code base and get the context. But generally, hopefully you noticed that as we went through and added stuff to the requirements doc, forced that into its memory, it began to behave more consistently and began to do the things that we wanted it to do better. And if we had the time, we went through and started adding some more things. We could probably add some more list pages, and it would go pretty quickly because it would have that context and those requirements already in place. So hopefully this was interesting. Hopefully it was helpful to you. These are some things that I've learned along the way as I've been doing more with AI, both in life and in development. So hopefully you found that interesting or helpful. And even though it took 2 hours to get through and we only got a list page up, but again, I hope that this helps emphasize for you the reality that AI is a tool. It's not a replacement for developers. You need to be able to think, you need to be able to know what you're doing, and then use the tool to your advantage to be able to do things better and faster in the days ahead. It'll just make you more efficient if you learn how to use it well in conjunction with your own knowledge and your ability to find ways to implement it and ways to make your process better and make you more efficient. So hopefully this has been a help to you today. Thanks for jumping on, those of you who were able to jump in and help me debug some of these things along the way. Thanks for doing that. And I will hopefully see you all next Saturday. I believe I should be on next Saturday. I'll update everybody. If not, for some reason, I'll make sure that we get that updated on the Discord server as well as on the community page of the YouTube channel. So hopefully we'll see you all next week. And not sure what we'll dive into yet at this point, but it'll be something probably really fun and frustrating at the same time, because that's the world we live in. So have a great weekend. Good to see you guys, and we'll see you soon.